Hey everybody, welcome to this video. We're going to be looking at bicycle infrastructure in the Somerville area. And this is actually where I live. I live in Somerville, Massachusetts at the moment. And I feel very fortunate to live here because we have some pretty amazing bicycle infrastructure. Now, really the whole goal behind these videos, and I want to really release a bunch of them for cities across the United States, New York, Somerville, Boston. I can get super specific. The whole goal is to help you reduce your dependence on the modern day automobile. I want you to get outside and I want you to enjoy life. I want you to enjoy your surroundings, enjoy your backyard. I also want to arm you with the information you need to make the smart move based on what your priorities in where you live are going to be. And maybe a big part of that is mountain biking and cycling around the city, living a more sustainable life, an affordable life. And yeah, that's what it all is going to be about. So this is kind of my first off the cuff video of my backyard. So with that being said, let's turn on the bike lanes feature on Google Maps. All right, Somerville, here we are. So as you can see, there is some decent bike lane access here, a good amount of green. We're going to compare this to Copenhagen, which is an absolute beast when it comes to cycling infrastructure in the world, and compare it next to Portland, Oregon as well. Portland, Oregon is rated the best in the United States for cycling infrastructure. There's some other towns like Minneapolis, Minnesota that kind of rival it. There are also really local areas in certain cities that have tremendous bike infrastructure that it makes it hard to make side-by-side comparisons, but I want to try and give you some, a level playing field. So again, Somerville, Copenhagen, Portland. Okay, so Somerville, actually, if you see, there's fairly almost on par with what we're seeing in the Portland area as well. Let's take a look at the data provided by walkscore.com. Now, Walkscore looks at a bunch of data where, how many restaurants are in your area, what the public transportation is like, how safe are the streets, and it gives a walk score to individual cities. So Somerville has a walk score of 89. That is very good. Bike score of 89 as well. That is also fantastic. So as it reads out, Somerville has a good public transportation and is very bikeable. If you're looking at the most walkable Somerville neighborhoods, Davis Square, Ward 2, and Prospect Hill. I'm lucky to live in the Prospect Hill area. So again, when you're choosing a city to live in, you want to make sure not just to look at the city as a whole, but also individual neighborhoods here. So this walkscore.com is a great resource to do so. Let's look at, again, top neighborhoods here. Walk score 97 at Davis Square, Ward 2 93, Prospect Hill 92. That is pretty fantastic. And if we zoom into a heat map here, you can see it looks like Davis Square is this dark green, and Prospect Hill area is in Ward 2 is dark green as well, which means those are going to be probably the best two neighborhoods if you're trying to walk around. But biking is kind of a different picture. It doesn't look like we're getting much good data here on the biking infrastructure. But if you go back to our main Google map, you can see we have solid green, which means some dedicated bike lanes, really littering the city, which gives you plenty of options to get around. Now, let's take a look at if you want to mountain bike in the Somerville area, and more specifically, if you want to mountain bike and get to the trails without needing a car, okay? So just bear with me while this loads. But I'm using MTB project right now to look at some trail systems. Somerville is right here, as you can see, and looks like we've got two trails. This is the Western Greenway, which I ride fairly often, and Middlesex Fells. Again, the whole goal here is to be able to get to these trails without the need for a car. So let's see how far these trails are away from the city center. So we're going to look at Middlesex Fells here. To get to the southern border of it, it is about a 4.2 mile bike ride. That's about 25 minutes. I've done that ride in about 17 minutes. Also, though, if you look up here in like West Somerville area, you're going to be much closer to Middlesex Fells. This is kind of just the Google Maps center of Somerville here, not necessarily where you live, but nonetheless, fairly convenient to get to the trail. It's going to be 25 minutes there, 25 minutes back, and then however long you choose to ride. Maybe not enough to ride after work during the week, but on the weekends, definitely accessible. Now, if we look at the Western Greenway from Somerville, we're about a 5.4 mile ride, which is about 31 minutes. Let's take a look at if these are on some good bike lanes. Yeah, so this is the path that I generally take, which is dark green. That means it's here that this bike lane specifically is like rail trail, so it's separate from cars completely, and you can see that here on TrailLink. So TrailLink is a website that gives you information on rail trails in your area. And essentially what a rail trail is it's a multi-use path, oftentimes converted from old railroads, that are really safe and fun and scenic for walking, for biking, for rollerblading, whatever it may be. So this shows, we got Somerville here. There's this dedicated bike path, which again, I live here, so I frequent this path all the time. Oops, looks like we got a little blip here. Bear with me one moment. Oh, I don't want to sign up. Come on. Okay. If it's loading, I'm just going to pause. Okay, so you can see some dedicated bike path right really in the smack dab of Somerville. That the best part about it is it leads out to other options for cycling pretty long distance out of the city if you're trying to get your escape from the hustle and bustle. So Fresh Pond Bikeway, that is 0.7 miles. Let's see, we're going to click on the Minuteman, which I believe starts right here. It's 10.1 miles. You've got about 2 miles of path here, 10 miles of asphalt road here, and then it extends out about 4 miles in each direction to some dirt paths, which are really fun. You can even jump back onto another rail trail over here that goes all the way up to Lowell. Looks like this path is about another 11.7 miles. I haven't been all the way north on that path, but again, so you're pretty immersed. You got the path that runs along the river here. That's probably about 2 miles from the heart of Somerville, depending where you're at. And some that run kind of towards the water here as well. This is the Northern Strand Community Trail. It's about 8 miles. And so you've got some good options here as far as dedicated bike paths. If I'm going to live in Somerville and I really want to prioritize cycling, I'm probably going to want to live on one of these bike paths. So in this area here, Davis Square, this is going to give you Davis Square and just the surrounding area. If you can live near that bike path, it's going to make your commute much safer, easier, more fun. All right, let's take a look at all trails. So these are the walking, hiking, and biking trails in the area. And what we've got here, again, we've already mentioned Middlesex Fells, but as well as the Western Greenway out here. As far as in Somerville itself, there's some like parks and things of that nature that are fairly nice to walk around, nothing crazy scenic or picturesque. But these parks up here, I've spent a bunch of time at, and they are awesome. So let's look at weather. So the Somerville, Mass weather averages, you've got in the heart of summer, July between 61 and 83. And the coldest month is going to be January between 16 and 35. So I'm going to look at the sweet spot months where it's like you've got a high temperature of around 55 to 80. That's great biking weather. This is all subjective to you too. I'm a big fan of the phrase that no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothes. So if you can prepare yourself for the cold weather, you can make it happen and enjoy that time on your bike. It is difficult, but yes, you've got April, May, June, July, August, September, October with some pretty temperate weather, whereas November, December, January, and February, you're going to have a tougher time with the cold. Again, those are the months where you're going to get some snow, January, February, and December. So you're going to maybe need some studded tires during those months, and just to be careful and be cognizant of that. So, that is a real brief overview of Somerville. And let's turn on those bike features again. I really want to encourage you to do some of your own research when it comes to where you're trying to end up, especially when you're making a move locally, or if you're making a big move too. There's a lot of data out there. So some of the resources I used in just doing this quick overview, Google Maps, of course, you're going to go to menu and then you're going to click bicycling in order to take a closer look at the bike paths. And then always make sure to check out Walk and Bike Score. This gives you some great data. I like to look at their heat maps because it gives you neighborhood by neighborhood information on where you can best take advantage of walking and biking and transit infrastructure. MTB Project is going to help you find mountain bike trails that are accessible to the city near you. Now, again, I'm really looking at this through the lens of you not having a car and having to bike to the trails. So if you zoom out, you can see there are more trails that are accessible, not just by car, but also some by public transit. So definitely take a look into those and see, what works for you. Really, the holy grail for me of cycling infrastructure comes down to rail trails and these dedicated bike lanes that are like, your bike highways through the city. And luckily, Boston and Somerville have pretty good access to them, and they're only building more, which is great. They're really embracing infrastructure here around that. And again, when you're choosing where you want to live and you want to bike a lot, you're going to want to position yourself near one of these paths in the city. You can use TrailLink by Rails to Trail Conservancy here. And of course, weather is going to make for a much more nice weather is going to make for a much more pleasurable bike commute and things of that nature. So, do what works for you. Remember also, biking in the snow is tough, but a really rewarding experience. So hope you enjoyed this overview of Somerville and what it can offer as far as you having a car-free lifestyle and commute. I give Somerville a great rating if you're trying to go car-free. I do it. I don't have a car, and there's plenty of adventures that I can access in the near area. And for my day-to-day life, I just don't need a car. I can walk to the grocery store. I can walk around. I can bike. One of the difficult things is the hills in the city. There's a bunch of fairly steep hills. Let me turn on the topographical map. See, it's going to load maybe fairly slowly. I got to figure that out. But I live kind of on a steep hill, so you're gonna work up a sweat sometimes. But hey, hard work on your bike is only going to make you stronger and a better cyclist. So pretty awesome. So again, do your research. Ask me any questions if you have, and let me know in the comments below the town next that you'd like me to take a look at. This is the first of many videos that I'm just churning out, and they're going to improve from here. But I'm just glad I did this one just to get started, initiate. Again, my goal is to help give you the tools and information to reduce your dependence on cars. I want you to get outside and I want you to enjoy life. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great one.